Hi, Kellen Rouse, and I am doing another EMDR update. So, yesterday I had an incredibly rough session. If you've been following my videos, you know that I've been doing EMDR now for about a year, actually over a year. And I thought that I had finished because we had processed all of my target trauma memories, but it turns out that that didn't handle everything. So I moved on to something called ego state therapy, where I've been working with sort of the part of me that lives in this very traumatic space in my life when I was about 12. So I went in yesterday because I had been triggered by some circumstances with my sister. My sister and I have a really special relationship because we went through the same abuse. We were in the same family. We bounced back and forth between our parents in the same way. So as we were growing up, we sort of had each other's backs. We were each other's family, and for the most part, because I'm the older sister by a little less than 2 years, I was the protector. So I found, because of something that my sister did, that I felt like I kept needing to apologize for her. And then when she spiraled recently, I felt like I needed to protect her. I'll be 41 in a month from today. She's 39. So this is something that I know that I need to deal with, because my sister is not getting better and she may not ever get better. And yet I still have this intense feeling of needing to protect her and feeling responsible for her actions. And so I went in having experienced this. My sister stole some pills from my aunt and proceeded to try to commit suicide, and was in the ICU for 3 days, and it was horrible, and I'm her next of kin, so I had to handle everything. And anyway, so it settled down now, and she survived, but it certainly triggered me in ways that I wasn't expecting. And I went into the session knowing that I needed to handle this issue that I have as far as my relationship with my sister, my now adult sister, is concerned. This was one of the roughest sessions I've ever had. It's one of only 2 sessions where I didn't finish reprocessing during the session, and the session went for 2 hours. The actual EMDR went on for about an hour, and then we just had to stop because it was, basically, like, it was just, we couldn't finish. And I'm going back tomorrow to hopefully finish reprocessing. But the interesting thing is that this particular trauma network, having to do with my sister and needing to protect her from abuse and feeling responsible for her, ties directly back to the ego state I have when I'm about 12. And that was the first time that she and I were separated. I went to live with my dad, and she stayed with my mom, and that only lasted for 6 months, but apparently it had a major effect on me that I have sort of haven't really dealt with, and hasn't been uncovered really until recently. So I think the reason that this ended up being so rough is that instead of starting with my earliest memory, where I felt like I needed to protect my sister, I felt responsible for her, which is at the age of 5, when my mom left my dad. We started with the most recent event, which was the stealing of the pills and ending up in the hospital and suicide attempt. So I figured out during the session that this this has so many tentacles. It's attached to so many different trauma networks that I have going on. One of which is that I really came to understand in the session is that my mother was kind of rejected by the family because she was messed up. She was the oldest of 6 children. She endured incredible abuse at the hands primarily of my grandfather, physical and emotional and so on. And then she went off and she married some man without her family's approval, who happened to be my dad, and proceeded to have my sister and me first, then my sister. And she was sort of seen as a black sheep in the family. She was seen as sort of trashy because she also got a divorce and then she remarried, and in my very religious family, those are not acceptable things. And we were very poor, and no one was successful, and this feeling of needing to apologize for my family and feeling responsible for my family really started with feeling this with my mom. Not so much that I needed to defend her, but that I needed to to separate myself from her, that I needed to prove to other people that I wasn't like her. And now this has extended to my sister, where I have this feeling that I need to prove to other people that I'm not my sister, while at the same time trying to protect her, which causes an immense amount of cognitive dissonance. I cried a lot during this session. We had to do probably 10 or more minutes of grounding to get me back to earth. I was very disoriented afterwards. I came home. I was practically catatonic. I could talk, but I just wasn't really able to engage, just sort of staring off, dissociating hard, and I finally just fell asleep. I guess the interesting part about this is seeing how trauma can be tied to these ego states. We were definitely able to identify another ego state during this time, which is 5-year-old me. 5-year-old me, that's where my linear memory starts, and it's the time, like I said, when my mom left my dad, and when basically my mom went insane, and the major abuse of my sister and I began, and when I started feeling like I needed to protect my sister. So I'll do another update after tomorrow's session, and hopefully have some more insight into resolving this issue in as much as is possible, and also maybe a little more insight into how ego states are tied to traumatic events and trauma networks. As usual, please leave any questions or comments in the comments section, and I'll be happy to answer. Thank you.